Welcome to the Vibrant Yogi Podcast, where we explore what it means to live fully, even when life gets hard. I'm your host, Kelsey, founder of the Vibrant Yogi app, writer, and stage 4 cancer thriver, here to hold space for healing, growth, and real, honest conversations. Whether you're here for inspiration, wellness tools, or a gentle reminder that you're not alone, I promise you're in the right place. All right, friends, welcome back to the Vibrant Yogi Podcast. Today, we have our very first guest, and I truly could not imagine it being anybody else. This guest and I have been working together for nearly a decade, and she has truly changed the course of my life in the most meaningful ways possible. Today, we are discussing the absolute biggest difference maker in my healing journey. And so today, we welcome Laurie Shopland to the pod. Welcome. How are you?
I'm not crying. You're crying.
We can't start that already.
Oh, it's just so beautiful to be here. Full circle moment, right? From when we met in yoga and you were at the desk and we just connected on one thing. I don't even know what it was. And then from there, you walked in. It was back in the day when I was just, because you said a decade, yes. And you walked in and had your first coaching session with me on our couch, right? When I was seeing people in person and still figuring out the structure of all of it.
Right.
And so many flashbacks as you're talking about, and having just knowing that this bubbling, like something was coming unearthing from you. And it's still well,
100%. Well, welcome. I am so honored to have you here, especially as our first guest. It just means so much. And so for our listeners, I am curious, can you tell us in your own words, what the heck is a life coach?
so good. Yeah, I thought we introduced me and I was like, oh, and I'm a life coach. There you go. So, a life coach is someone who comes alongside someone. And I believe everybody could benefit from a life coach, just as having a cheerleader right beside you. And so in some frames, like I believe I was a life coach to my kids, right? Growing up, I was shouldering to shoulder when I wasn't, mothering and smothering them, when I could actually
Right.
have the clean brain. But I think that's the different part of it, is a coach will come into the relationship and simply see what's working, what isn't, based on the client, on your kind of design for the life that you want, and then not be afraid to highlight something. Oh, you're smiling because yeah, we had some moments like that, right?
Yep, definitely. And so what for you pulled you into the life coaching world? Like how did you even know it was an option to become one? What got you here?
Such a fun story. I believe people search out coaches most commonly when we are in transition of,
Mm,
and so you're stuck somewhere, or you are wanting to make and pivot. Or what my biggest thing is you have this nickel on your heart, a calling for more, but you just don't have the clarity as to what that is, or nor the confidence to kind of pull that out. And so I was at that stage years ago, and I was in transition of career for myself, and I hired a life coach, and it was like a what now?
yeah,
It was when Martha Beck was on Oprah, and she was really the first universal life coach and
right.
gave language to it. And the woman that I searched out was a very dear friend of mine who was Martha Beck's first Canadian certified life coach. So that's
Oh,
how
wow.
new it was. And so yeah, I hired her because I knew that what I was doing wasn't working in my own life, that I knew that I had a calling for more, and I didn't know what that more meant.
Mm.
So just having someone in my corner support me, but not, can I swear on here?
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but not put up with my shit and be
Yeah.
able to call me on it. And so she just kept challenging me with thoughts that I believed to be true. And I remember her just challenging me on thoughts. Like one that I remember so vividly was my belief about myself. Because I mean, how we show up in the world is the belief of the lens that we have about ourselves. And so
Right.
for me, I have two strikingly beautiful older sisters, and they're petite. And I am not petite. I'm 5'8.5", and I am big boned. And so coming into this, like, it's not why I hired her to coach me, but in amongst it, I was hiding from opportunities in the career world because she helped me uncover that. And she pulled this out of me. It was so beautiful. I remember, and I'm like, well, I kind of feel like Shrek, because any pictures of my family, my sisters, I am literally ahead of them. And
Mm.
so it's like they see my boobs and then my sisters' heads, and then I'm up here. And that was the lens that I was looking at Laurie Shopland through. And so you can imagine how, if think of Shrek, the cartoon, how comfortable is Shrek going in and pitching himself for jobs?
Right.
He wasn't. And so she helped me see, and I'll never forget, because the part about coaching as well is that we work with what the client's looking, and because it was a long-standing belief that I
Mm-hmm.
had. So she didn't say, well, you're wrong. She just said, but Shrek has such a beautiful heart.
Mm.
And it softened me to see myself differently. And then
Right.
that was the putty that we were able to move through. And when we finished all of that work, I ended up, it's another talk for another day, of where I landed in career because of working with her for me.
Mm-hmm.
But what it did do is it instilled in me is one day I'm going to do that. I'm
Mm.
gonna, I know that's my calling, not
Right.
probably my belief at that time was I'm not prepared enough. I can't do it. And there was lots of layers there. But at the end of the day, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. So,
I think it's so fascinating that you went through that experience as well, right? Of realizing that maybe your beliefs about yourself are not truth, right? And that they can change and they can. I feel like you, especially as a life coach, are really good at asking the questions to be like, to make your client, myself, think, damn, like I didn't even think of that as a possibility. So you just kind of open up this whole different perspective of not only how we see the world, but how we see ourselves and what's possible. And I think that is the beautiful part about life coaching and what has been for me so valuable. And some, like, there's a reason we've been working together for almost 10 years, right? You just have this way of asking questions and challenging.
well, challenging, yes. And we'll get to that in a second, because we talk about me wearing my kick-ass boots to like
Mm-hmm.
feel.
100% you do.
But the part that for coaching that I really loved when I went through certification years later, and I went through and learned, and the one I probably gleaned the most from was learning how not to get in the pool.
I
And
remember you saying this like
and it
way back.
really, because okay, so when you and I first started talking, you've given me permission to share our
Yep,
story.
yep, yeah, everything
So
is on the table.
so when you first reached out to me, you hired me to help you in a career transition. You had a calling on your heart to move forward and do police work,
Hmm.
and you were working in a family owned business. And so there was a dynamic of disappointment and having that difficult conversation, as well as, am I good enough? Can I ever do this? Moving that forward. And so that part, when a client comes in that regard, I typically don't find it difficult to stay out of the pool. When your situation changed and you called me to say that you were diagnosed,
Hmm.
and the first time,
Right.
and I shared, my whole story about this. And you had said, will you continue to coach me? I understand if it's going to be too difficult, but will you continue to coach me? Because I need to keep my head in the game to beat this.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm in. But here's the beautiful thing. I knew I then needed help from a coach, and I shared this with you,
Yep.
to not get in the pool with you and be your friend and commiserate and be in total empathy with you of having, no, empathy's fine, sympathy with you and being in the pool with you
Right.
of having your diagnosis, because then I can't help you. And I think of it on the lines of being like a lifeguard, and you're in the pool swimming along, and then life hits you with a current, with a cramp or something. If I
Hmm.
jump into the pool with you, both of us are going to flail.
Yeah, we're both screwed.
I know I'm bigger boned and probably a better swimmer, but right? Not true. But all that to say is I know that then that's a lot of energy and a lot of flailing versus being a coach on the outside of the deck. I'm not getting in the pool, but I have tools, a pool noodle. I have a life preserve. And in coaching,
Hmm.
I have tools to be able to offer you as the client that is in the situation that you're in. And so
Right.
if you recall, when those calls started to happen, and I coached myself enough to show up and hold the space for you in that season and be there with you, at the end of our call, then I would be your friend, because it was like,
Right.
how are you? Like, tell me what's going on. But I couldn't always help you from that place. And I think that that's where people get confused is, yes, we are all coaches in some regard to the people in our life, but
Hmm.
it gets very blurry when we go from coach to friend or mom or sister,
Mm.
and we start blurring the lines and getting in the pool with them, then we lose that coaching edge. And so coming back and having somebody that is specific, like you and I are dear friends. And so the
Right.
conversations we have as friends, and you see my messy brain, and then
Yep.
other times that no, I am your coach and I am on the pool deck and I'm like, okay, this is the direction you want to go. I'm here to help support you to be able to get there.
And I love how you like you say coach hat is on or friend hat is on. And so we know how we're shifting gears when we're chatting to each other, and how we speak as friends is very different than when coach hat is on and you're kicking some butt sometimes. Do you find it hard or challenging to switch, like not only with me but with other clients? Do you find it hard to navigate that line?
Yes, yes, and you know, early days, early days, I thought everyone should be coached.
I still think that.
No. Like at a family dinner with
Oh,
siblings.
like in the moment, you think everyone should be coached.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So somebody would say something and I would slip right in there. So the biggest caveat is you need to have permission and be asked to coach. And so
Right.
we have a saying, we have 3 grown children, and as I was learning all of this, they were all going through high school at the time. And as I was learning this, we ended up having a kind of a family line that would say, this is not a coachable moment. And I'm like,
I like that.
fair, fair. So now my husband and I, we both share in a coaching practice. He's a business and leadership coach, and I'm a life coach. And there are times like we have clients and we're coaching, we coach all day. And then all of a sudden we'll go down for dinner, and all of a sudden one of us will slip into that and we'll both look. We don't actually have to even say it anymore. It's like,
Yeah.
and this is not a coachable moment. We did not
Yeah.
for coaching. I just want my partner, and come BS with me right now, and come
Right.
cool with me. And I just
Just
want,
let me complain
yeah,
for a second, please.
yeah,
I
yeah.
like that. I like the boundaries, the
Yeah.
expectations, because I feel like you kind of have to have that in order for like in the work that you do, right? Because you could be doing it 24 hours a day
I
and
didn't get it right. Like, let me tell you, and my siblings probably would be the first ones, and my kids would be the first ones to say, "Oh, hell no!" Like, there were many
mm-hmm.
times that they did not ask, and I jumped right in and learned from it. And I'm trying to be way more aware of that now. Of no, no, you need to ask. And then even like I walk with one of my best friends almost every day, and so we'll talk, and then at the end, I'll just like, so did you want any coaching on that? And sometimes she'll say no, and but most times she's like, well, hell yeah, why were you not saying something along the
Yeah.
way?
Yeah. Friend hat off,
Yeah,
coach hat
yeah.
on. Let's do this. Okay. So, next question I have for you. So, what is the difference between a coach and a
Mm.
therapist?
Ah, such a great question. And it's such an important one because I believe we all need both in the world. And so we
Yep.
know what the differences are. So the best example and analogy somebody gave me years ago was that for counseling and therapy, think of them as an archaeologist, and they unearth very tenderly something from the past, and
Mm,
they dust it off, and they spend a lot of time looking at probably one specific thing, and they look at it from all angles, and an archaeologist like with a little brush, and they spend a lot of time on that. A life coach is like an architect. So
mm,
you come to work with a life coach because you want help designing, looking forward to something. And
mhm.
so I work with clients that are looking forward. They may be stuck because they don't know what's next or needing the clarity to it. But that's where my ability comes in to be able to look at the thoughts that they're having and going, well, as long as you keep thinking that, yeah, probably ain't going to create the design
Right.
your life that you want, right? So it's one is an archaeologist, very well needed, and I wouldn't know where I would be without having therapists and counseling in my life. And then coaching is helping me create the life that I want moving forward.
And do you think that they can be done in tandem, like together, or do
Oh,
you think that you need to lay the groundwork with the therapy first, or what are your thoughts on that?
I had therapy first before I ever coached. And I
Hmm.
have lots of clients that have never had therapy and only coaching. I have some,
Hmm.
lots of probably your listeners have never had coaching and just do therapy. So it's whatever works for you, but I would say my experience is when I'm working with a coach, with a client, pardon me, as their coach, we'll stumble upon something, and I have a tool that will help us kind of identify where maybe one of the blocks started, and then I'll say that's a really good thing to go now talk to your therapist about.
Right. Okay.
Go find where that and do the work there. We've recognized that it's an obstacle, and
Hmm.
now we can know it and know that you're working on it. And then now moving forward, raise the awareness every time that it keeps coming up. I trust you're working on why it's there, the work you need to do, but just recognize, okay, I'm working on this, and it doesn't have
Right.
to stop me like it's used to stop me.
I liked when, so we would find slivers, and I liked that word that you would use, like something I didn't really know it was there. And then we'd touch on it, and I'm like, oh, I feel that. That is definitely there. And so we would work to kind of niggle it out. And of course, I've always been working with a therapist as well. And I think that the two just go so well together,
Yeah.
for me in the situation that I'm in. And so it kind of brings me to the next point of like, you've been with me a lot of times where I have been stuck and I like dig my heels in and I feel like I'm having like a little girl tantrum. I'm holding my breath and I'm like, no, right? So, A, how do you identify when a client is stuck? And B, how do you help them work through that resistance?
Mhm. It's so funny that like that's exactly how you show up. It's like you well, and I think you have actually given me the middle finger a few times.
100% I have. And it's when you're really onto something good. And I know that. And so I'm like trying to be a little bit more open to it, but I know when you've hit that spot, right?
So how I think recognizing in honesty and even in your opening, and so I wanted to go back to this. You were the one that got you where you are, not me. Mm-mm-mm. You searched me out, you show up for every one of our calls, you do the work. And so just like for everybody out there listening, I really, really want you to hear this is a coach, a counselor are only there as guides, but
Mm,
you are climbing the mountain.
mm,
Okay. So it's not, for one, it's not my job, right? And
right.
you are not broken and the clients are not broken. They're stuck on something, so they can't see what's around the corner. So we lean into it together. And so I think when someone comes and they're feeling stuck, again, the fact that they're showing up for their calls and that they are searching out a different solution, willing to invest in themselves because they believe that there is something deeper and more out there for them,
Mm,
then that to me isn't stuck.
right.
That they're moving, they're maybe just not moving at the pace they thought they should. And so then we
Right.
like lean into that, and a lot of self-love in that of going, man, like,
Right.
man. So even on those calls, some of them like that we had our sessions, just allowing you to be in a pissy mood if you were in that. And if you remember, I remember one Sunday night we were, because I Vox with my clients in between, I always say like being in your back pocket. And there was a time that you were struggling. It was during your um, first diagnosis, and you were struggling with just feeling poopy. Not
Yeah.
physically, yes, but mentally and emotionally. And I remember
Yeah.
challenging. I just did a check-in with you, and you said, well, I'm feeling poopy or something, blah. And then you said, and I just got the sense that you felt you shouldn't be.
Right. 100%.
And I went, why? Why
Yeah.
are you putting that expectation on yourself?
You're allowed to feel
We're
shitty
allowed to
when
do
you're
it.
diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
But
And so,
sometimes you just need permission to feel
yeah.
those things.
And then do you remember what we came up with, the strategy? I remember it's like the Oscars or the Emmys were on, because I remember I was watching them and I was just texting you going, hey, how you doing? Like checking
Right?
in on you. And then you were stuck and I'm like, huh. And so then I remember texting you and I said, then set a timer. Give
Throw
yourself,
yourself a pity party.
yep.
Yep.
And then lean in, and when it's time, and because you are such, again, like all of my clients are so similar in the regards that they are doers, like they really have a desire for their life to move forward.
Right.
But there's also very much strengths and weaknesses through all of us. And so
Mm-hmm.
yours is highlighted is you are very much black and white. And so you're like, well, I'm in this poopiness right now. Your brain was wanting to tell you, and that means I'm going to be staying here forever.
Right.
And you couldn't see the way out of that. And so I think our communication was, being stuck, being in that poopy place isn't a problem.
Right.
And now what's a strategy around it? And we creatively came up with set a timer, and that you're a rule follower. Oh, I could do that. And I'm going to do
Yep.
that. And then you were able to move through it. So all that to say is when somebody presents and they're stuck, I think that that's one, allowing them and letting them know that it's okay to be
Mm,
exactly where they are. And if on this call, that's all they just want to share why they're stuck, and then inject hope that they're on on track and that nothing's wrong, they're going to leave feeling like I got this, even when I'm
right.
feeling stuck. Right.
I think that's the biggest thing that shifted in me. I think that a lot of the times I was not in a victim mentality, but it was like things were happening to me and everything was a result, right? And I think as we've worked together, you kind of see that you you teach us that we can choose the thoughts that we have, and the thoughts that we have are going to not only dictate our emotions, but our actions,
Mhm.
right? And I think that that's been one of the most powerful tools that we've worked through. And now it's a habit because we've strengthened this muscle over time, right? Where if I'm, having a pity party, I'm like, okay, this is okay.
Mhm.
Whatever, you've had crappy news or you're feeling crappy, that's okay. Give
Mhm.
yourself time to sit in that. And when you don't, that's when the pressure builds
Mhm.
and you feel worse and worse because you shouldn't be feeling like this and you need to get out of it. And it's like you're on this hamster wheel and your brain won't stop. And then you're like, boom, you like smack some sense in where you're like, no, Kels, like sit here. This is okay. This isn't going to last forever. Everything is temporary. These emotions are just vibrations in your body. And when you kind of place that analogy on it, I was like, damn, I have so much more power
Mm.
in how I show up than I'm giving myself credit for. And I think that is why I wanted to bring you here, is to unlock to our listeners that we don't have to just experience the results of the circumstances.
Yeah.
You know, we can curate our life. We can be the author of our future. Of course, there's shit that's gonna come in, but you empowered me to believe that whatever happens, whatever gets thrown my way, and let me tell you, this has been tested with a stage 4 cancer diagnosis. But after the years of work we've done together, Laura, I inherently believe in my soul that I have what it takes. Is it tough? Yes. Does it require work and conversations with you and others? 100%. But I know that I can get through it. And I think that that is just a gift that you give your clients that is absolutely priceless.
Mm. Well, I then get to see this.
Oh
Right?
gosh, shameless plug.
No, not at all. Like I mean, I know your mom and I know her well. So I just on the sideline of like I feel like a coach mama, right? Of being
Mm,
so dang proud of you. And you know this, like at any of my workshops that I do, I bring this with me to say this is what's possible. When your brain is saying that you can't and
oh,
I don't have and all the things, I use you as an inspiration to say, and this is what's like you got out of your own way, you learned how to do that. And to be able to say, okay, wait a minute, now all this journey that I've gone through, which I mean, that's another session for another day of how in listening to the podcast this morning of I wanted to re-listen of how you so eloquently said it, because I remember the moments. You were writing this as you were letting it change you.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You remember that? Like there were moments, and I remember you'd sit there, and I think that's when you'd give me the finger, because I'd highlight that to you, and you're like, "Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
I don't,"
yeah,
right?
few F-bombs dropped for sure.
The fact that this, and I think that this is just the start of it, and then this
Mm,
podcast platform to the impact that you're being called to make. Well, you had to do that work. You had to do the work yourself so that you know you can be honest um and full of integrity to be able to tell people on the other side listening, listen, I know it's hard,
mm-hmm.
but I want to empower you that you have a choice.
Yep.
And if you don't know how to get there, here are some options. You explain it well in here, and if not, go hire a coach. But not everybody has the ability to. This is an amazing resource to be able to help them. You stay in there, like the thought model is in here. That's all we
Mm-hmm.
kept practicing over and over again is, okay, here's a circumstance. What do I want to be thinking? My thinking is in my control. What thought do I want to have? And I'd often reply it back to you going, okay, here's the thought you gave me. Is it helping you?
Right,
And you
right.
would, again,
Yeah, no, it's not helping me. That's why
it's
we're
like a
here.
little finger jar or something like that of like a
Yeah.
loony put in every time that you told me to F off. But anyhow.
Oh, man. But I honestly, I just, for anybody who is listening and feeling stuck or feeling like there is something more, I feel like that is just such a gift that is being placed on your heart. It can be so frustrating to talk about it. And we've talked about liminal space in our last episode on Vibrant Yogi. And it can be a really, really uncomfortable space to be in, you know, because you can't go back to this who you were, but you also are like, how do I, like, what is the architecture that we're trying to build for who I want to be and who do I want to be? Right? That can be a tough question. And so I feel like the work that you do and the questions that you ask just kind of help. It's like layers of an onion, right? You're peeling back layers to help people understand what it is that they truly want and that sets their soul on fire and what their purpose is. And I feel like I've been very fortunate to see so many of your clients like step into becoming a pastry chef, or, I get to watch these people that you work with step into their zone of genius we've talked about before. And what a beautiful thing happens, what a gift to the world it is when we are operating from that place. And so I really have to thank you for the work that you do, because I think that you help us uncover parts of ourselves that we really wouldn't know existed otherwise.
Mm. Well, I just feel honored. Just like when you started saying, like, I can't believe we're here, because
Mm-hmm.
it would be, I don't even know how many years ago, right?
A long time.
Oh,
Yes, yes.
years ago. And just, this is us now. And this is us both stepping into the strengths. And, you used in your earlier podcast, the identity,
Mm-hmm.
leaning into that and trusting in that. And
Mm-hmm.
I believe there's never been a more important time than us to step into what we truly are called here.
Oh, of course, the state of the world, everyone needs to
Yeah.
be supporting and helping each other. And so, okay, I'm curious if somebody is curious about life coaching, they're like, oh, I feel a little bit. What would you say to them, and how would they possibly find out if you're the right coach for them, or how would they kind of start the process?
Well, first, ensure that you have read Let It Change You, because this is powerful in laying the groundwork for coaching. I
Ugh.
think you are a coach, so that's in there. And then follow me on social media, Laurie Shopland Coaching on Instagram is probably where I am most, and then our
Mhm.
website is Shopland Coaching, and shoplandcoaching.com. And I'm always running different master classes, free master classes. I'm doing workshops and then one-on-one. So whatever that is, and I offer free consultations to have a phone call. So whatever
Mhm.
that niggle might be, just lean into it and trust yourself. And I think that would be my biggest caveat in leaving this, is empowering all your listeners, whatever is leaning on their heart, to listen to it, and then
Mhm.
share it with one person, like bring it to light, give it some oxygen from that, and be it your best friend or your spouse. And then from there go, okay, now what do I want to do? And start getting curious with that.
I love that you say that. That my kind of final question that I had for you is like, what is one tangible step that people can do today if they're feeling that niggle, that like, oh, I feel like there's
Write it
something.
down, pen to paper, I'm a
Mm.
huge proponent of journaling. I do have a 31-day journal prompt, which you just reminded me of. Don't know, it's somewhere on my website, I think. Don't know.
I can link it in the show notes. No worries.
But that really helps seeing and pulling out, because I ask those powerful questions, right? Like
Right.
what is it that's calling you forward? And then what fear might be stopping you? And then there's
Right.
there's a different prompt every day for 31 days to walk you through. So
Oh, so valuable. Well, Laurie, honestly, I really want to thank you for coming on the podcast today. One of my goals here, which I've shared, is that I really want to share the things that have impacted me the most on my healing journey. And without a doubt, you are absolutely one of those things. So I just have to say a massive thank you.
you are so welcome, my friend. I adore you, and I am so dang proud of you. I love you.
Thank you.
Right.
All right, Vibrant Yogis. So that is a wrap on this episode of the Vibrant Yogi podcast. Join me next week as we take a closer look at positivity. It can be one of the biggest game changers when you're facing a challenging time, but there is also a dark side to positivity that can actually work against our healing. So, you guys, I can't wait to jump into this one with you. And trust me when I say you are not going to want to miss this one. So I hope that you enjoy the week ahead, and reminder to be well.